building a bathroom vanity. And as a disclaimer, I did not install this myself. I had my contractor do that. For this project, I got a lot of inspiration through these floating vanities that I came across on Pinterest. And they all seem to come from this one company that I found that does custom floating vanities. And what really inspired me was their ability to maintain the individual character of the wood. And the wood grains and the knots in the wood really pop out, and I really just found that really appealing. So I wanted to somehow replicate that without spending a ton of money on the actual wood. I took a trip to Home Depot taking a look at their selection of vanities and cabinets and drawers, but there weren't too many that I really liked. I came across this vanity and I really like the design of their drawer because they have this spot in the middle where the center pipe would fit through. So I had plans to buy a vanity top separately and build the bottom, but these were lame. I did like this vanity top the most, but the drawer on the bottom was pretty ugly. It had these three handles that you'd think that it was three separate cabinets, but it was just actually just one door. I eventually ended up buying this one, but only kept the top. I started off with simple 3/4 inch common plywood, and I wanted to distress it a bit by using a chisel, and after that just sanding it down. And similar to the vanities I was showing earlier, I wanted to emphasize the character of the wood. And honestly, at this stage of the project, I've never done this before. I was just experimenting, and I took two different stains. I had a summer oak stain, and this is an old stain that I had just sitting in the garage, and I didn't close it properly, so it became really thick and viscous, but it really worked out well because it was easy to smear and it faded into the wood really well, and I think that's what gave my piece a really unique look. And after I stained those sides, I stained the edges black to give it some contrast. These are some other pieces of the vanity that I stained black. And then we waterproofed the pieces using a matte finish sealant. And I had to cut some other pieces for the vanity. And the next step was clamping the vanity together and using pocket holes to screw in the pieces. And I also used these L metal brackets because the vanity was pretty flimsy without them. The next part of the project was cutting out the pieces for the drawers, and I happened to have some old plywood, and cutting it just took a really long time because I was using a hand circular saw, and it wasn't until later that I purchased a miter saw, which would have made it a lot easier. Then I sanded the pieces and then assembled the box together using clamps and screwing it down, and here's the final product. And in order to make the face of the drawer similar to how I did the other pieces, I used the same process using that dark stain and then smearing it. And then I cut the pieces in two, one for each side of the drawer. Then I stained the outside edges black and put on a water protectant sealant on it. Of course, a much needed upper trap massage. Now, I've never installed drawers before, and this is my first time. And after putting in the hardware, I took the drawer to double check to see if it fit with the drawer inside. Installing the door handle for the drawer was a lot more difficult than I thought, and it took a lot of precision, but I finally made it work. Afterwards, I attached the front to the drawer, and I eventually installed it, but I had to repeat the process for the second drawer. So I installed the hardware to the side of the drawer, and then tested it out, and it worked. And here is the final product. And like I mentioned before, I had my contractor install this. It wasn't me. And this is what the drawer looks like with the piping in the back. And I guess the distance of the piping isn't standardized, so he had to actually cut a hole for that center pipe, and then same with the valves. He had to cut a hole through the drawers too. And here's a look through the underside of the vanity, and that's where the hole becomes a lot more obvious, but who is really going to take a look from underneath the sink? Here is a close-up of the vanity, and I really like the way that this came out. The way that I stained the vanity gives it a lot of character and a really unique look, and even down to the chisel when I distress the wood, it makes the stain not as uniform, which I really enjoy. I like the contrast of the white walls and the the wood and the black outline, which really makes it pop out. All in all, I'm really proud of this vanity and the way that it turned out. And I hope you enjoyed the video and watching the process of this being made, and give it a thumbs up if you like, and we'll see you later. Alright, bye.